Much about our air conditioning unit, except for when it doesn't turn on, we're really frustrated. And as we get into the 90s coming up this week, there's a lot of things to consider to make sure that your air conditioning unit, one, is going to turn on and work properly, is probably the second one. We've got Kerry here as the general manager of ARS. Good to see you this morning.
Good to see you,
and
Andy.
You are right on time as we're looking at 90, 93 this week.
Yes.
If people experience problems with their air conditioning unit, oftentimes there's probably similar things that go wrong with all of them. What could we be facing?
Well, Andy, right now, lots of times what we face is I've got actually a box here of different common problems that we see right now. This is a contactor, okay? And this is what sends the power to your compressor when your thermostat calls for cooling. Okay, this is your compressor down here.
And that's a big, heavy thing right there.
Yeah,
right?
that's about 60 to 80 pounds. So I'll have you lift that here in a little bit.
Right, we'll do that later.
Okay, so this is a common problem we see. You know, not a real serious one, but one that we see. Here's a what we call a capacitor. You might hear your heating and cooling company talk about these. This is what sends the initial energy to the capacitor to get it started initially.
Okay.
It's kind of like the battery in our car, if you will.
That makes sense. Okay.
And this is probably the most common failure that we see.
Is it the most expensive?
No, it's by far not the most expensive. You know, it's certainly not cheap, but we certainly have repairs that we see that are much more expensive than this, which would lead to really your compressor down here. That is one of the most expensive repairs that we would have to make. There's a lot of moving parts in it. The compressor is what sits inside the air conditioner, and it's responsible for compressing the refrigerant, and it turns it from vapor into liquid that runs through your coil, which kind of creates the cold air for us that we feel through our registers in our home.
Now, one thing I have experienced are frozen coils.
Right.
Now, I don't know what caused it. I don't know how they fixed it, but that was a problem that I called with one time.
Well, some common problems that we see with these things, and this is a coil right here. We call this an A coil, just kind of based on its shape here. And we do see a lot of frozen coils, and we'll see a lot of that this week probably. And more often than not, Andy, what we see is that when we go to a home, lots of this is just caused by folks not regularly changing out their filters. We get there, it's a dirty clogged filter. We change it out, we can get the thing thawed out, and usually we can run pretty good. Another problem that we face with the A coils, Andy, is that we sometimes will see a leak. Okay, so if we go to someone's home and they're low on refrigerant, lots of times, and most often where that leak is in this coil. Okay, so you're leaking the refrigerant out, and you know, it needs a repair. That's a very costly repair to fix that or replace that. That's one of the most expensive repairs as well. So the compressor, the leaky coil, very expensive repairs based on the age of your equipment. You might want to consider buying new versus spending thousands of dollars on these repairs.
Is this something, too, where we could have you guys come in, sort of check our air conditioning unit out before it really kicks into high gear, and maybe some of this can be prevented, or what's the deal there?
That's a good question, and the answer to that is yes. We do a tune-up for our IndyStyle viewers for $49.
There you go.
And we come out and we do a 21-point inspection, and lots of times that's where we can find issues that we talked about earlier with your contactor, your compressor. Okay.
And hopefully that's all it is in most cases.
Yeah, this here is a circuit board. I mean, again, this is the communication, so this is kind of the brain of all this stuff. And lots of times we see that these go bad too. We can see these have troubles with lightning and stuff like that. So again, another costly repair.
All right, well, good information. See how much we learned. This is why. But despite as much as we've learned, if there is an issue, you got to call these guys. Call ARS. They're the experts. They can handle it. Good to see you. Thanks so much for coming in.
All right,
we're back with more IndyStyle right after this. Don't go away.